a little while ago, I was talking with a colleague about the fact that I was thinking about what it was I wanted to talk about today. And this particular individual said to me, well, quite frankly, Morna, there's absolutely nothing positive that you can say about 2009. It was an absolutely horrible year. And that's certainly one perspective. And I accept, and we've talked a lot about it already today, that 2009 was something of a challenging year. Hopefully you've seen that we've really recognized that many of you have worked extremely hard against the challenges that such a deep, long global recession has put upon us. And we've recognized that you have had to work extremely hard, faced with the increasing attrition, having to deal with customers that have either delayed some of their decisions or indeed changed their mind. And you, like all of us, have been bombarded with the constant negative attention by the media around the economic downturn and stories, as we know, regrettably, of organizations that have folded and of the resulting increasing unemployment. And when we look internally too, we recognize that you've gone through quite a substantial period of change this year. Earlier on in the year, we restructured the field operations team. We've talked already about the fact that we restructured the sales team. We restructured the Six Sigma team. And as you know, most recently, we've gone through one of the biggest reorganizations for many years in the bringing together of the UK businesses and the integration of some of the key functions across the UK. So I absolutely recognize that for many of you, this past year has been something of a challenge, and that many of you perhaps are still feeling a little bit jaded and perhaps even a little bit vulnerable following this past year. But you know, I have a very different perspective on this past year to the one that was expressed by my colleague. And actually, my view on this last year is somewhat more aligned with this fellow, who I think is relatively familiar to many of you in this room. Now, you may or may not already know this, but Ramsay Holdings' profits were down some 90% in 2009. And I saw Gordon Ramsay being interviewed. And he was interviewed by a fairly typical journalist who somewhat revels in the misery of others. And this particular journalist, having reminded Gordon of the fact his profits were down some 90%, then said to him, "So, Gordon, how do you feel?" And I have to tell you that at that point, as perhaps some of you are thinking now, I half expected a certain Mr. Ramsay to say exactly how he felt and in his normal, colourful language. But you know, actually, his reaction to the question really surprised me. And what he said really resonated with me. And he said this, he said, you know, 2009 has been a fantastic year for really remembering what's important to organisations. He said it's two things. Firstly, it's about remembering that the customer is at the heart of everything that you do. And that secondly, you never stop focusing on your good people. Now, those of you who heard me talk this time last year will remember that I shared with you our vision and our focus around our people. And perhaps you'll understand why what Mr. Ramsay said had resonated with me. And indeed, one of the worst things we could have done this year would have been to divert our attention away from our people. And we know that many organizations chose or through necessity to do exactly that. And they reined in their investments, or they stopped completely investing in their people. And we could have chosen to do that, but we didn't. And in fact, this past year saw us invest more in our people than at any other time before. And in a little while, what I'm going to do is share with you where that investment went. And we focused on those areas that you said through the engagement survey that you completed that we really needed to work on. And I will share with you the highlights from 2009 and our successes, despite a really challenging economic year, of the things that we implemented. But before I do that, I want to remind you what it was that I said around our focus on our people and what our strategy was. And certainly for those of you for whom this is one of the first events that you've attended, I want to make you aware around what our focus is on our people. And it's this. We want to be recognized for attracting and recruiting good individuals who can contribute to our business, and we want in turn to become an employer of choice. We also want to provide all of our employees with the right environment that enables each and every one of you to contribute well in the roles that you do. And we want to continue our investment in the growth and development of all of you, so that, as Howard has already said, that you can have a good career with us, and it's not just about you performing the functions of a job. So thinking about creating the right environment, we had a fantastic opportunity this past year where you told us exactly the things that we needed to focus on. You told us the good and you told us the not so good. And what I want to do now is to share with you, as I said, those things that we worked on across our region and share some of those highlights with you. Now, I know that you all have had feedback pertaining to your own functional areas of the things that you said through the engagement survey. But there were some very common themes that came through, irrespective of where you sit within our region. And what you said that you enjoy about working at BSI is that, you know, you actually enjoy the jobs that you do. You find your work challenging, you find it motivating, and you find it stimulating. And you enjoy working with the teams that you work with. And actually, you're a really passionate bunch of people. You're passionate about this organization that employs you. And you're passionate about what we do and what we stand for. But quite rightly, you also told us about the things that were stopping us from being a really excellent organization. And you said there were really 3 things that we needed to work on and improve on. You said very clearly that you were concerned that we were starting to lose sight of the customer. You also said that there was a palpable sense of a lack of investment in your overall training and growth in terms of an overall career with our business. And you also said, you know, it's a little bit clunky. It's a little bit difficult the way we're set up. It's hard to collaborate well. It's hard to work through things together. So what I'm going to do now is pick up on those last 2 themes, particularly around improving the way in which we work and around our focus on training and development. And I will now share with you the things that we've all achieved this past year.